Now the men who held Jesus mocked him and beat him, and having blindfolded him, they struck him on the face and asked him, saying, "Prophesy, who is the one who struck you?" And many other things they blasphemously spoke against him. So there have been moments, and there will be, and maybe even right now, you are going through a season of such moments, where you ask yourself, where is God in all of this? It might not just be you, it might be the people, somebody that you know and you are seeing them suffer. It might be the things that you are reading and you are hearing about, you're watching on the news, and you ask yourself the question, you'll have come to it many times, where is God in all of this? How am I to believe in an almighty and benevolent creator when people suffer as they do? Well, the text takes us right into the heart of the question. As we stand back aghast at the injustice, the cruelty that is done to Jesus, we ask ourselves the first question of the sermon: where is God? Where is God in this? Our Lord, who had touched and healed, liberated lives, hundreds of lives with holy hands, had helped fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, casting out demons, healing the sick, raising the dead, welcomed and embraced strangers and outcasts and sinners, just the kind of man that humanity in need has longed for, is arrested, and he is enduring various inquiries and accusations. And while they wait, just because, verse 63, they mock and they beat him. Just because, verse 64, they take a blindfold and they wrap it around his face so he can't see what's going on. And they take it in turns to strike him in the face and to undermine his identity, to deconstruct his own reality. Prophesy, who is the one who struck you? And you can imagine as they stand around, their chortles and their cackles, their laughter, their sneers, their venom, as they beat Jesus and as they mock him. What do they stand to gain in any of this? Absolutely nothing. It is just cruel sport. It is pleasure in the pain of others. And we have seen it over and over again. In the schoolyard, we've seen it in the office, even in the sanctity of the home. And we read and hear about it across the nation and nations. Mindless, merciless barbarity. As awful and as emotive as the blows, the claws, the wounds are, one of the things you'll see here is that the greatest evil is not that which is done to Christ's body, but it is that which is done to the truth. Do you see the emphasis? In verse 63, the men who held Jesus, they began mocking him. They continued mocking him, and they beat him. The beat part is almost an aside. They were just mocking him, and they did a little bit of beating too. And in verse 64, the violence, it serves the end of attacking the truth. Who is the one who struck you? You are no prophet, Jesus. They are attacking the truth here. And at the end in verse 65, as he summarizes this harrowing account, he doesn't say, and many other wicked things they did to him, many other acts they committed. What he says is many other things they blasphemously spoke against him. The greatest evil is not that which is done to the body, it's that which is done to the truth. And if you were to listen to an abuse victim, domestic abuse victim, they will tell you this, that the worst part was not the blows that were received. It wasn't being forced into deeds they did not want to commit. It was that they began to believe that they deserved it. They were not worthy of safety and love. That they had no value. And it's for that reason that they never left until some great intervention that saved them. The physical here gives rise to, reinforces the psychological, the epistemological, the spiritual suffering. Hence the reason that in the face of evil, we come to ask ourselves the question, when we face physical suffering, when we see physical suffering, it leads to that denial of the truth, that question of the truth. It leads to that place where we ask, where is God? That is the greatest evil, the attack on what we know to be true. And you see, once the truth is lost about who God is and about who we are as people with inherent value, once we close up our lives to that which he is revealing about goodness and flourishing and salvation for humanity, then all we are left with is our suffering. The result and the outcome is that we are but prisoners and slaves to our sorrows, just like the domestic abuse victim. The evils that we witness, they will lead us to question, where is God? But the greatest evil is that question itself. This is the design of the evil one, that our sorrows would lead us to begin to deny truth. The truth about ourselves, the truth about God. We must not allow them to do it. Nevertheless, you see that the draw is powerful. Right? Because here we are with Jesus, and we've recounted his deeds. He is a righteous man. He's selfless. He's undeserving. But he's suffering. This is like a mini crucifixion, these 3 short verses. And so we want to ask, how could this happen? How could God allow this? Where is God in this account? This is the place we get to. Well, the second thing to note is that he is right there. Here's the situation that we have seen 1,000 times over, that has brought us to this place of questioning, where is God? And he's right there. At the center of the storm of cruelty and hatred and profanity, God is there. We believe that Jesus is the incarnate Word. Luke has taken us through that account of Peter in Luke chapter 5 and verse 8, which parallels Isaiah 6 and the great throne room scene, where Peter can say, "Depart from me, for I am a sinful man," when Jesus brings in the fish, when he controls the oceans. We have read the account in Luke chapter 5. Only God can forgive sins, but Jesus says, Luke 5:24, "But that you might know that the Son of Man has power to forgive sins." Only God can raise the dead, but we have read the account of the widow of Nain, where Jesus can say, Luke 7 and verse 14, "Young man, I say to you, arise." Where he comes to Jairus' daughter, the little girl, and she is dead, and he says in Luke 8 and verse 54, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." Did I say little girl before? I meant young man, arise. Little girl, arise. And in wonderful irony here, the story of who Jesus is continues. Through the very gesture that is meant to deride and undermine him, verse 64, "You are no prophet, you cannot identify the one whilst blindfolded who is striking you," and yet in that very gesture that is designed to undermine the truth about Christ, what are they doing? They are confirming that he is indeed the prophet of Israel. They're confirming that he is indeed in perfect control of the circumstances that he has freely and willingly entered into, because this is exactly what he said would happen in Luke 18 and verse 31. Behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and all the things that are written by the prophets concerning the Son of Man will be accomplished. For he will be delivered to the Gentiles, and he will be mocked and insulted and spit upon. Here they are mocking Jesus to say, you are no prophet, whilst in themselves fulfilling his prophetic word. In the midst of this heinous barbarity is the prophet and the Son of God. He is right there in the midst of suffering. And just as I heard this week Professor John Lennox, the mathematician, say in a podcast with Alex O'Connor, the skeptic, in the face of evil, we might ask the question, what is God doing on a cross? We could ask ourselves the same question here. What is God doing, the object here of violence and vitriol and blasphemies? Now, his being there, his presence, it doesn't give us an answer to why every evil, said John Lennox, but it gives us the possibility of some peace about evil. Because what we see here, and this is a quote, God has not remained indifferent to human suffering, but has become part of it. He has not remained indifferent. He has not remained at a distance, but he has become part of the human story of suffering and of being a victim and of being, at least having the appearance of powerlessness, though he is never truly powerless himself. It's important to see that evil, as I've said in previous sermons, it's not dismissed just because God will redeem it, just because God will bring good from it. Luke himself will write, recording the words of Peter in Acts 2 and verse 2:23, you have taken him with lawless hands. What the soldiers are doing here is truly evil. Evil really is evil. But it is never a reason to conclude that God is absent. Here is evil, but here is God entering into the suffering, becoming part of the suffering story of humanity in a world that is fallen and darkened with sin. Hagar, the maidservant of Sarah, when she is treated harshly and sent out pregnant, vulnerable and with nobody to defend her, is greeted by the angel of the Lord. And she says, you are the God who sees. Hagar was not alone in her suffering. Joseph, as he goes to the pit and as he goes to the prison, we are told over and over again, God was with him there. Joseph was never alone. Paul, as he goes to Corinth in weakness and fear and trembling, or as he stands at his first trial and he says, nobody stood with me. Nevertheless, his testimony is, but the Lord stood with me. He was not alone in that moment of suffering. David, through the challenges and trials of his life, he would write Psalm 56 and verse 8, you number my wanderings. You put my tears into your bottle. Are they not all in your book? David was never alone at his darkest moments, at his lowest of depths. God is with us in our sufferings. And the life of Christ is the sealing of that belief. Here is evil, but here is a God who is right there in the midst of it, who has shared in our sufferings. In those dark moments that you will come to and have come to, where you are tempted to ask the question, where is God? As he is here, as he was with Hagar and Joseph and Paul and David, he is especially present with you at such a time. He is especially present in that It is just to like depths that he has descended in love for you. It is there acutely in your hurt, in your abandonment, in your rejection, in the wounds you bear, that you feel the breadth and depth of his heart for you, because he has gone to such depths. He is especially present with you there. He is especially present in the voice of outrage that is raised when you see the unjust, when you see the exploitation of the weak, and everything inside of you cries out, this is wrong. It's there more than ever that you need to know that the deeds witnessed and suffered are more than chemical consequences. They're more than inconveniences. They are more than the breaking of social contracts. They are truly evil, objectively, unchangeably evil deeds, and it is the unchanging absolute purity and justice and goodness and love of God that gives definition to evil. Your own outrage is the echo of the character of the God who has made this universe. Right there where you are most dismayed and offended and shattered, you are not alone. Where you ask, where is God? It is there especially that God is there with you. So where is God? He's right there. And then the third and the final point here is, what is he doing? What is he doing here? So I don't mean here what are all of the amazing things that he will do with suffering and evil, but I mean like literally what is he doing as he is the victim? What is Jesus doing? What do you see there, verse 63, verse 65? Doesn't look like much. I think for us it won't feel like much when we're in the thick of it. But what is he doing? He patiently bears his pains. That's what he's doing. And there are times and seasons where we must simply, patiently bear our pains, or the pains of others. You mustn't mistake this for surrender to evil and darkness. He is patiently bearing his pains, but in so doing, he is powerfully exercising faith, hope, and love. Why is he bearing his pains patiently here? Why is he enduring these trials, these afflictions? Well, he bears them because he trusts. He bears them because he trusts that this is the will of God. As he has taught us to pray, this cup, let it pass from me, nevertheless, your will be done. If we can make those prayers at those times, then we can know either the situation is changed or it is the cup that we must drink. It is God's will. He is able to patiently bear these pains because he knows, because he believes, because he trusts that this is the will of God for him. He is exercising trust in the Lord. He bears these pains because he hopes. If this is God's will, then it is only a matter of time before goodness and light and life abound. That's what you get when you come to that place of understanding that your sufferings are within the counsels of God. You have prayed and God has said, no, this is my will for you, my son and my daughter. Then you are able not only to trust there, but to hope there. If it is God's will, then it is only a matter of time before some goodness, some light, some life begins to break through and abounds to you. And he bears his pains also because he loves. All of this that he is going through is for the redemption of the flesh and blood at whose hands he currently suffers. All of this is for the redemption of fallen man in their violence, in their most ugly parts. And yet, what does he do here in love? He refuses to give up on man. He refuses to give up on life. He refuses to give up on his creation. You are to let that same love carry you through your sufferings, refusing in love to give up on God and the gift of life that he has given to you, and on the creatures around who have been made in his image and likeness, and on this very creation. But refusing to give up on love, you choose to believe that God has plans for you and for this world, and so you endure, and so you bear your pains. And of course we know that in 3 days he will be vindicated. In 3 days he will be declared indisputably the King of kings and Lord of life and Saviour of men. And a short while after he will ascend into the heavens, and he will be seated at the right hand of God the Father. And you have this promise that in time, if you wait on the Lord, bearing your pains and the pains of others, you will follow him. You will be vindicated, one day raised and declared to be a son and daughter of the Most High God, and comforted and consoled with the fullness of God's being. One day you will be able to say with the Apostle Paul those great words, Romans 8 and verse 18, I consider that the sufferings of this present time, they are not worthy to be compared with the glory that will be revealed in us, and if you keep reading, in the creation itself. But it is only we who bear our pains and who wait on the Lord that will see it. And so you come to those moments, where is God? Remember, the devil wants you to ask that very question. The physical is there to destroy the truth. Where is God? He's right there. And he is with you in your sufferings. He has gone to such depths in love for you. Your visceral experience of the agonies and pains of this life are an insight into the breadth and depth of the heart of Christ in what he has suffered for you. He is there in your outrage. You are echoing the voice of the just, the holy, the pure and loving God who delights in life and abounding and health and community and welcome and friendship. And he has shown you what you must do. You patiently endure your pains. But this is not passive. It is the employment of faith, hope, and love. You wait, enduring your pains with faith, hope, and love, and you will never be disappointed. Amen.